everyone. Welcome to Behind the Pen. I am your host, Karina Gantus, and I hope everyone is well today. This is a podcast all about artists, anyone who holds a pen. You could be an illustrator, a writer, author, a director, an editor, a tattooist even, they hold a pen. So anyone who holds a pen. So today my guest is a newbie. She is the first time she's been on a podcast, and I'm so excited to have her and to grill her. So welcome to the show, Wendy Watts.
Thank you so much, Karina. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited.
I'm excited. Well, now normally I go straight to the what do you use your pen for? But I think I know what you use your pen for. So what I want to start with is, when did it all start? I mean, how old were you when you got that creative bug and you wanted to start writing?
I would definitely say around the age of 13 is when I started, and it may have been because at the time, it was sort of a coming of age thing as a female, identifying emotions, feeling in, and maybe just not having a friendship circle to express that with, that I turned to the pen and I started writing in my journals, and it came out as poetry. So it became a sort of, creative imagery or deep, intense poetry to put the thoughts that I felt like I couldn't share either, with a family member because it might feel too private, or a little bit, again, in the teenage years that you're going through a discovery process, you're there's a little bit of caution to share because you don't want to be judged. You also don't want to be condemned for anything. So I, growing up in sort of a very Christian household and background, so I sort of expressed all that in my journals.
That's amazing. I mean, at that age, you're saying exactly the same with me. At that age where you're changing, and maybe you don't have that friendship circle, and you're not close to your family, or things you can't talk to your family about. It's got to come out, because if it doesn't, then that just causes anxiety and then depression, especially at that age. So to have that outlet and have that journal and get everything out is a wonderful way. And poetry, I can just imagine how powerful that poetry is that you did, because poetry is so expressive to start with. And then if you're pouring out all your emotions into that poetry, it's going to be really powerful stuff. I mean, have you still kept that to yourself? Is it still like in your journal, or did you eventually publish some of the stuff?
I did actually. What I did was, in the process of several moves and not wanting to carry all the journals around with me, I thought that it would be a good idea to take the best of the best, my favorite poems from all of that content, and self-publish like a coffee table book, just for myself. My own edification, my little thought children, to take those poems. And so I actually self-published online 2 books on lulu.com called, the first one was called In Search of Life and Love, because that was the common theme among all the, poetry, was the exploratory aspect of coming of age. And then the second one was called Rhyme or Reason, which is sort of when I was in my early 20s, just trying to make sense of it all and the experiences that I had from 13 to 20 to early 20s. So, you go from a young lady to a young woman, right? And so there's a transition there that happens where you start to begin to reflect and assimilate the information from all your experiences, and you try to create something positive from all of that. You want to be better, not bitter. Yeah. So.
It's funny you should mention Lulu, because that's who I first published with. I don't know your age bracket, but I mean, when you said when you were 20 and you were writing all that, so I'm thinking maybe 30 when you first published. How old were you?
No, I was definitely, it was not until I was 30 that I actually had the guts to really put myself on there and say, you know what I'm going to do with all this? I had all these journals in my bookcase from 13 to mid to late 20s. And so I decided at the age of 30, again, with the advent and the popularity of the internet, and then not, that allowing another avenue where you didn't have to go through a formal publisher. You could just self-publish
yourself,
speech, right?
Thanks to Amazon.
Probably nobody's going to see it and buy it, but just the fact that I created a book and a memoir for myself, then that's just it's there forever.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling it was about 30. Yeah, I published my first book after getting so many rejections from publishers and agents. I thought, oh, I'll do it myself. So I went through Lulu and did it. But I wanted it. I had in my head, oh, I'm going to be a best-selling author. I'm going to be New York Times bestseller. I'm going to be on Oprah. I'm going to have my book all over the schools. I'm going to be in all the libraries. And yeah, okay. And then suddenly this reality comes crashing down, and it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. It works like that for some lucky people who know the people in the business and get a step up the ladder. But for little indie authors, it doesn't happen like that. So that's a tale for anyone who's thinking of publishing a book or has published a book and has been the same as me, lights flashing, and you're going to have bidding contracts, bidding war on your next contract. We know now. We understand how it works. We know we have to pay, we have to suffer, we have to push. It's a hard job. But let's get back to you. You published it just for yourself. Now, some people do that, but surely when you I know what it feels like when you hold that book for the first time in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Surely you had the idea of, oh, come on, if I can feel this way reading my stuff, maybe I can get it out there to somebody else who needs to read it and could relate to what I'm writing about.
Right. I guess it just the tragedy with sort of the publishing the book online was I ended up only buying one of them. It got lost in a move, and then the Lulu.com servers went through some overhaul back in, I don't know, 5-8 years ago, and now my books have vanished, so I have nothing.
Oh my gosh!
I was safe uploading to the cloud. I threw away all my journals. They did a
Oh my God, Wendy!
My 2 poetry books are lost forever, and I'd gone to the painstaking time of actually making them photo books. Like I actually chose and for the rights to the copyrighted image to match up with the story of the poem and everything, so it would be a really pretty coffee table book.
Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I've been with Lulu for years, and I've never had any problems with them. Oh my God, what did they say?
Well, they said, we're really sorry, because I had this, when I first uploaded and published that content, it was between 2005 and 2008. And apparently their servers went through a big overhaul, I guess, back in 2011 or something. And they apologized. I wrote to customer service. They said they did a search and they never could find it. So they're gone forever. So word to the wise, anybody listening to this podcast, save your journals.
Oh my gosh.
That doesn't mean it's there forever. It's gone now.
Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah. Okay, that is tragic. Oh my gosh. Moving on. Okay, moving on. So while all that was going on, you must have been still writing or being creative in another way while you were waiting for your poor books to disappear. What were you doing in the meanwhile? What were you doing writing-wise in that time?
I would say my content has always stemmed from some sort of life experience. As you know, a lot of times we, I think Lord Byron said it the best when he said, in order to write, a man must be in love or in tragic pain.
That reminds me of Taylor Swift and what's her name, who did Adele. The only time they bring out an album is when they've either had a divorce or fell in love. That's the only time you hear from them.
I would say anytime I had an impactful experience, whether that was a very strong feeling or attraction from a romantic perspective, or whether that was just something very transitional and moving in my life, whether moving from Florida to California the first time, from California to New York, and then New York back to California. You go through so many life transitions, and you just sort of reflect back on what each of those experiences sort of adds in terms of facets to your character as well as your life experience. And that all came out. So my writing then continued to progress, still occasionally in poems, sometimes in just quotes that I would put on my Facebook page called, Daily Dose of Watts Up, a play on my last name, like Watts. So it would have, like, how you have that epiphany and sometimes it's just a thought, a blurb.
Yeah.
So I would put it out there. And so they became sort of Watts Up isms. And then
that's good for TikTok.
thinking or feeling of the day, right? We didn't have TikTok yet.
We didn't have TikTok then, but that's really good for TikTok now. Yeah.
That evolved, I would say. I wrote my first screenplay, feature screenplay in New York. It was a rainy day. I had 2 days off work and I was just inspired. I saw these characters in my head, and I have nurses in my family, but I don't know anything, technically about the medical field, but I just had this concept and I could see these characters in my head talking a funny dialogue between a smart.
This is normal, darling. This is normal.
This is totally,
this is totally normal. You're not going psychotic. There's nothing mentally wrong with you. Every author, and I'm not talking about the ones that write a book and then finish and forget it. Every person that's supposed to write, whether it's a novel, a screenplay, or poetry, we hear those voices in our heads. We see those scenes playing out like films. We listen to what those voices are saying because they're telling us the next scene. They're telling us where to go. They're introducing themselves and saying, here I am, put me in the book, put me in your screenplay. You need to know about me. And they will carry on talking and they will shout and they will scream and they will do anything until you finally get up and type or write and get it out of your head. And if you don't get them out of your head, they won't let you sleep. And darling, this is all normal. You're not going crazy. You haven't got a mental illness. This is what we all go through. And this is when the gold comes out, when the writing comes out and it's gold, because we're listening to our imagination. We're listening to those people. We're building that world in our minds, in our imagination that's coming down on paper. And we call that in the zone. And when you're in the zone, everything around you is gone. It's just you and the computer or your notepad, if you do that first. And you just write and it flows because you're listening to what your characters or what your mind is telling you. Does that make sense?
Exactly. So that's why I wrote 119 pages in 2 days. That's it.
Yeah.
And I submitted it to the first film festival and it was turned down. So I just kind of tucked it in an electronic file on my desktop and I forgot about it. And then 6 years later, when I moved to Los Angeles, I came across the file again and I said, you know what? You are in Los Angeles. Why don't you send it to a local film festival and maybe they might be receptive to a local author? So I submitted it again and to LA Live Film Fest and it was selected as finalist. And I was so encouraged
that's all you needed. Yeah, something like that. It's a start. It motivates you and you're like, oh, if I can do this, I can do more, I've got this, I'm in the finals or I've won this and they love me, they love my work, that I'm doing something right. So why not to continue?
That's exactly the feeling I had of that. Wow, that first acceptance that you get from the industry is so powerful that I just wanted to go and create more.
Yeah.
And then, so then the next inspiration came from a dream that I literally had this very handsome, and this doesn't come from any Disney story that I had seen.
No, carry on.
This prince shows up in my dream, wearing nothing but a pair of, sort of black leather pants and no shirt. He's got his sort of, wrist kind of propped behind his head and his boots kicked up and he's sort of laying on top of the bed on the comforter next to me as if, it was one of those dreams that really feels like it's real life, like your friend's just propped up next to you, just going, and he said to me, so when are you going to write my book? And I said, excuse me? He said, when are you going to write my book? I want you to write my book. And so that was the inspiration for Prince of Moravia.
Wow.
Which also became, that ended up becoming, branching me from a finalist to a winner. And so then the additional stories just kept coming from there.
Tell me, I mean, I win, I've won 15 plus awards from international film festivals for my short film, not screenplays, but actual short films, book trailers and a documentary. I've won 15 this year. What do you do when you've won? Because it's different for me. I've won for a small film and then that's it. Everyone forgets about it. We're all happy, blah, blah, shout it out to the world. But when you've won from a screenplay, don't you have a chance of someone reading that screenplay and getting in touch with you and saying, I want to do something with this?
Right. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because in order to branch from screenplay to actually getting produced, that is a big step. You need not just for your work to be recognized, which is why people tend to then submit their screenplay to several festivals, hoping that with, as you know, with a number of eyes on it, you know, say if I went on to over 20 festivals now with my work. And it all started with that one acceptance, you know. So what happens is, hopefully from all this coverage you get when you're submitting your screenplays to multiple film festivals, which I ended up winning over 20, you're hoping that somebody looks at that script and then decides to attach a producer. And then once a producer is attached, now you've got a chance for your screenplay to be, you know, sort of, they call the process optioning for, well, you sometimes an agent picks it up and your screenplay would get optioned to attach a producer to get the film actually created, right? So that would be the middle step, is if an agent picks it up, they would try to basically give you an option agreement, which would be a period of time, like say 6 months or a year. They'll say, I'll give you, I don't know, $1,000 to $10,000, whatever. But basically, you're not going to go to anybody else with the script. I'm going to take your script and I'm basically going to shop it and see if I can attach a producer in this period of time, whatever the option contract is, 3, 6, 9 months, a year, whatever. And then if somebody discovers you before that, they could always buy you out of your option contract as long as it's not irrevocable. But that's the way you bridge from screenplay into the film industry. And
let
what
me
I
ask
did,
you, sorry, let me just ask you, after 20 wins of this screenplay, surely you had an agent or one or two knocking on your door.
Believe it or not, there's so much content out there that it is very competitive. Like you said, just because you're published on the internet and just because you've won some awards doesn't mean that, you know, it's definitely going to get picked up. So the way that I chose to enhance and expand the optics on it to try and get more looks is to continue expanding my craft, as well as creating what's called a proof of concept trailer. Okay, so what I did, because I don't have a film budget and I don't have a bunch of actor and actress friends, what I did was I went to Pexels.com, Pexels, right? And they have free photos, videos, copyright free, that you can to promote an event, a business, and a product, a service, whatever, right? That's what it's there for. It's there for creatives that need resources and to promote themselves and lever into the business world. So what I did was I found a bunch of video clips. And I put them all, I edited them all together in iMovie using a trailer template, since it was my first time. And I created my first trailer, the Prince of Moravia trailer.
From basically a trailer of your script that would be a film if made.
Correct.
Wow.
So then what happened is that also then allowed me to enter the proof of concept trailer. All of these film festivals have not only have a screenplay category, but a trailer category. So then,
which is what I was doing.
So double the looks at it, right? And now they can actually see the story start to come alive. To life. And this is how I went from being a finalist with Patient 19 to a winner with Prince of Moravia. It happened with the trailer. It was because of the trailer. It was because I was able to, because there might be a stack of 10,000 scripts the judges are looking at. What makes it stand out is the one that's bringing the story right to your screen.
Exactly.
So highly recommend, get creative, be resourceful. Just because you don't have a film budget, you can make your own proof of concept trailer. I did, and it worked.
Exactly. Yeah. We've showed that. We've showed that. I do the book trailers for my clients, but I make them also for my own books. And Broken Chains, which was one of my last books, which is a dark mafia romance. It's quite a lot of screaming, a lot of intense action in it, and it won its first award last month. And I'm waiting for the actual award to come down because I can't afford to ship all these awards over. So I get the certificates, and now and again I just say, "Oh, this will look like a little Oscar." So I say, "I've got to have that one because it's like a little Oscar. It's so cute." So, and I actually won Best Female Director of Thriller Short. And I was like,
That's amazing.
no,
That's
oh my God, it is amazing. It is amazing. And what does it do for me? It doesn't have someone knocking on my door saying, you're good at making trailers, let's go a bit further. Or
right.
You've got a book, you've got the trailer, let's make the film. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. What it does, it gives me credibility, and it allows me then to put my prices up a little bit more for the trailers that I create for my clients.
Right. So, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there. Absolutely.
So, when you won, finally you got your recognition. You won the film contest award because you created a trailer that allowed your film to come to life. What happened next?
I made more trailers because I found that I actually enjoyed the creative art of making the trailers. Actually,
I know, it's so fantastic.
Than writing itself. So I thought, I'll make the trailer first, and I'll reverse engineer the story behind it because I can write it.
Love it.
I can visualize it. I can write it. I already know that.
Love it.
So then I start putting the chicken before the egg, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Chicken, yeah.
But it's so much fun though when you're making a trailer.
Yes.
You've got the special effects now. You've got the videos. You've got text, of course. You've got the music. It's so much fun making a trailer and watching that book come alive, or the story that you haven't even written. I mean, you must plot when you're doing that. Surely you plot an idea before you do the trailer.
Absolutely. It definitely it stemmed. All I need is one thing, one idea, could be one memory or just one visual is enough to inspire an entire story for me, or a film compilation. So the next one came from a romantic relationship that I had during the 6 years that I was in New York for a career, and that one. So after the success of Prince of Moravia, I was inspired to create the Nights in Greenwich trailer, and because the person I was dating at the time was in the Greenwich Village area, so that's how I came up with the name. And so at the end of the trailer it says inspired by true events, because of course the story itself will not be it's not meant to be a biography, but there were some nuances to those experiences that made them a very memorable chapter in a very memorable part of the New York chapter of my life. And so I thought, this could, I think everybody can relate to this. It's the recent season or lifetime love. This was sort of that seasonal relationship. It comes and it goes, but that season is just so memorable that you feel like, I want to just, like the song says, if I could put time in a bottle. So I feel like that's what Nights in Greenwich is. That's my time in a bottle.
I love the concept. I love what you've done because it's so unusual. Normally it's just screenplay and find an agent and hopefully get a producer. You've gone totally the different way, because I haven't heard of it being done like that before. Would you say that you've had success because of doing this? What's actually come out of it at the end?
Well, the trailers, after Nights in Greenwich, I produced another one called Detective Smolder, and they've all now won multiple awards, the trailers. And I found that like kind of a new love in film. And then I ended up, that led to, like you said, where did it go? It led to me actually creating my first short film completely with stock resources. That's also now won 2 awards this year. I went ahead and started my own podcast, Pretty Little Prisons, and it just got me, thinking, what am I waiting for? I'm just going to go ahead and do all this stuff, and something's got to hit. Something will hit eventually, because I'm going to keep branching out until it does. I am going to keep creating and keep producing every idea that pops into my head, and one will hit. right person, right place, right time, right?
Only
So
takes one person. Only takes one person. So how long from your first screenplay to the first trailer to where you are now, what sort of timeline are we looking at?
well, let's see. I mean, Patient 19, that was written, boy, that was written like 6 years ago, and I didn't write another screenplay until that one became a finalist when I entered my first film set festival in LA in 2019. So, and I would say Patient 19 was written like back in 2016 or 2017 when I was still in New York, 2016. So ironically, not until 3 years later, and I'm in LA and I enter it. So it actually, ironically, if you're into numbers, and I always look at them as signs, right? The fact that Patient 19 became a finalist in 2019, that was a sign to me that it's your time to go ahead and really
Love it.
seriously pursue your writing craft. So that's when I said, all right, I'm on it. I'm going to just keep going with it. So
But then,
now,
then you're saying about your writing craft because you've stopped doing the screenplays. Now it's all about creating the visuals to make the small film. At first, the trailers of of books or screenplays that didn't exist to start with, and then make an actual short film of one of the your ideas. So I mean, are you going to write a novella? Are you going to write a novel? Are you, what's
actually, I did. That was all part of my sort of, I would call it like a, you know how they say when you're coming into alignment, you experience sort of personal renaissance. So January 22 was that for me. In January 22, I finished my first novella. Exactly, it's called Daughters of Bryn. I had originally titled it Where the Wild Things Grow, because that was a theme and in a place in the storyline. But then there were like 3 other books called that were
yes,
completely different. So I realized I needed to retitle and relaunch
yes,
in order for it to have impact. And I thought, oh, what is the key one the key 3 of the key characters? So it's kind of like if you like Little Women, you'd like this sort of to take a Pandora approach
cool.
to it. So so Daughters of Bryn, so it's a post-Civil War kind of movie about this
Wow.
or book about this Lieutenant Brigham Corrigan, who the General Bryn dies in the war and has a note in his pocket, basically, take care of my girls and my estate, because their mother had died and they were with, like a governess or whatever. So this is how the story begins. So I said, I'm just going to make it about them, and then I could turn it into a series instead of being locked into just one book. So I thought, this is great. So I retitled, relaunched. It's on Barnes and Noble. It's on Amazon Kindle. It's on everything. You can launch now through Lulu, but then do a global distribution deal for $5 and get anybody can download your book
Yep.
from any outlet online. It's a beautiful thing. Google
Yeah, it
Books.
really is.
It is the best self-publishing deal ever. Yeah. So
So
now I'm on book 2 of Daughters of Bryn, which is Don't
I
Fear
was
the
going
Night.
to ask you that. Yeah. So you're on your second one now, and are you doing anything visual with it? Are you making your trailers? Are you making a small film to go with each book?
I haven't yet, but I know that will come. Because right now I'm kind of at a divergent path with the plot, and depending on how I take that's going to really determine how I bring that to life on the screen. So
Love
book 2
it.
is really going to make is the deciding factor on how I want to present the story to the world.
How did you feel? Because I know I've tried screenwriting, it's a nightmare. How did you feel from writing screenplays to actually writing a novel? Because it is a total different kind of writing. How did you get on with that?
I find novels easier to write because it's exactly how I think in my head. Writing's
Hmm.
always come easy to me. So I can literally just take the story as it's kind of happening in my head and just commit it to the digital page. And it is just very easy. It's very fluid for me. It's like a river or a stream flowing. It's so easy. And then when it stops, I take a break and then I start writing when I have the inspiration again. It's
Exactly.
yeah. So it's
So
much easier. Like I said, the screenplay, it's definitely a little bit more challenging process because the formatting and the way you've got to put everything together. And
all the emotions that you write in a book have to come out in film, so it's all to do with facial expressions and attitude and dialogue, where we would just put oh, he was really pissed off. You know, write it like that, but to put it visual, he'd come in and slams the door or something to show that he's pissed off. So that's what I found very difficult about screenwriting was, see, I do the show don't tell all the time in my books, whereas when you do a screenplay, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah, and ironically, like you said, just for comparison's sake, in terms of time, I originally wrote Patient 19 as a novel, so to convert it to screenplay format. So I wrote it as a novel in
Wow.
2 days, but it took me 4 days to convert to screenplay format because
Are
A, I
you
had to learn something new. Two, then I had to take all that content, 113 or 119 pages, whatever it was at the time before I edited it, and put it all. It took me, twice as long to put it in the
I can
required
imagine.
format.
Yeah,
Because
I
like
can
you got to
imagine.
fill in
Yeah,
all the blanks, and you got the
exactly.
cameramen need to know what they're doing, and the actors and the actresses need to know how they will be framing the character, and it's different from than just straight up telling a story. So.
Most definitely. But you've gone from one stage. You've transferred your, you transformed. You've moved on. You've gone now into writing novels, and they're eventually going to be a series, and you will do your visuals with your trailers. Do you think you're going to turn them into scripts as well?
I think there's definitely potential for that because I can really see these coming to life, even if it's as a Broadway play or a musical, maybe. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, maybe not a musical, but I could definitely see them on the theatrical stage. So whether they may not become a movie, The Daughters of Britain, but if
Wow.
they pick up popularity, you never know. I might get approached a lot of times. Once a series gains a certain level of popularity, then Netflix or someone will come along and say, "Oh, we want to produce this as
That's
an
so
series."
true. It happens.
But you can't have a series if you don't have characters that people love and a storyline that people want to follow. And so I feel like if I create that following with the book, it could just happen organically. And then I already have tested out the skill set that I need to help make that leap to the next level when the opportunity does
I
present.
I wish you. I hope this works out for you because I'm so excited for you. We have so much in common, and I could talk more and more about this, but unfortunately, we're going to have to close. So, where can people find your book? Where can people see these trailers that you've done?
Well, all of the links and trailers are all on my writer website, wendywattswriter.com. So
Wonderful.
the trailers are there. My projects are all there. I'm actually producing a film festival this year of my own to help
Oh
other
my
people
gosh.
support women in film, called Wine Women in Film Festival. And I've created the trailers for that as well with the
Wow.
content that the submitters have sent in already. So definitely have a look at that. The links, it is on Barnes and Noble, it is on Amazon for Kindle version, but all of the links and all of the trailers and everything, it's all in my wendywattswriter.com.
You've really took on a big challenge there, darling. I know somebody who did the same as you, but she's been doing it for a few years now, and I know what goes into building up a festival. It's not just like, oh, send me in your film and we'll play it in front of an audience. No, no, no. So much more goes into that. What on earth gave you the idea to take on that something so big?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's because a lot of these festivals, again, like I said, having won over 20 awards now for my various works, a lot of these festivals, all you get is digital laurels. And if you want to buy the award, and some of them offer IMDb credits, some of them don't.
Bingo.
And some of them, you send in your film or your screenplay or whatever, and you don't hear back from them
No.
until the 6 months, a year, the notification date. Sometimes the notification date passes. You don't hear from the festival till 4 days after. Oh, you're a finalist. Oh, great. Thanks for the and it's a film pre-made generated email. And I thought to myself, I think that I could do better. I think I could create something for the industry that specifically supports women in film and the arts and actually gives them a tangible live event in a vineyard setting and brings together, people at an event and actually really celebrates, showcases, elevates, and and promotes these artists across social media platforms, allows the opportunity to have an in-person VIP networking mixer with other writers, directors, producers who have also submitted their films. Now they have an opportunity to come together in the real world in a vineyard setting, have the live screenings, have complimentary, you know, products, technology, whatever may be presented there by anybody who wants to sponsor or partner with the event. And so I felt it was a worthwhile proposition or a worthwhile thing to do, because I had the time, and so it's my passion project, and I really hope that, you know, maybe through helping other people, eventually it comes back around. But that's not the reason.
Karma. No,
Yeah,
it does. I totally believe in karma.
I just wanted to create something that makes people feel good
Yeah,
about what they're doing and celebrating, so they will keep creating and keep putting their content out there for the
it's
world, because there's
beautiful.
nothing worse than, like you said, feeling like congratulated but forgotten. And I
Yeah.
want them to feel forever memorialized in the promo reels for the event, as part of
Mm.
our history, everything. So yeah.
That's absolutely beautiful. I wish you all the best with that, and I'll be taking a look at that myself and then seeing what I need to submit. Um, you're amazing. You're fantastic. I'm so glad you came on the show. I'm so glad I've met you. I had no idea we had that connection until this is why I love the show, because I don't know anything about my people, and then when I get to know my people and then I find out we've got so much in common, it's just like so wonderful. I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for being a guest on Behind the Pen.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real joy.